Next is your skeletal system, composed of the bones and skeletal tissue. Forms of bones include compact bone that is hard and dense. These bones are developed circularly. What else is new? The entire universe is operating in circles, again based on the 528 Hz frequency sacred geometry dynamics. And in bone, the circular system is called Haversian systems, wherein layers called lamella are laid down by cells called osteocytes, living in little caves like lacunae. Spongy bone, like the name implies, lies inside the compact hard bone and is spongier than this compact bone outer layer. Then at the center of long bones is the bone marrow that generates red blood cells that carry oxygen for life. All of these cells and tissues operate miraculously, energetically, and as I mentioned earlier, through the 528 Hz frequency that the red blood cell carrying the pigment hemoglobin, which is structurally identical virtually to the chlorophyll pigment, only difference being that the iron is required for the hemoglobin as opposed to magnesium for the chlorophyll. Your skeleton is made up mostly of mineralized protein. Protein and soft tissue fibers called collagen are used to support and move the hardened structures of your bones that are made hard by calcium and phosphate crystals that form what's called the hydroxyapatite structures of these hard tissues. Joints are lubricated by synovial fluids and protected by proteinaceous capsules, like spinal discs keeping the vertebrae apart so that they don't wear out the bones when you're moving. This is important. This protein and keratin also is extremely important in the protection, such as with your fingernails. Bones are held in place by muscles and connective tissue fibers. The muscles are connected by dense straps of connective tissue that's called ligaments. Now let's move on to the muscular system. Skeletal muscle is composed of fascinating cells that operate, like everything else in your body, electrochemically. The main chemical that causes contractions is called acetylcholine. The secretion of acetylcholine and stimulation of muscle cells takes place at the neuromuscular junction, where nerve axons terminate next to muscle cells. The muscle cells contain chemical receptors that transform the chemical stimulation by acetylcholine into electrical currents that conduct this bioenergy along the muscle cells, triggering contractions following the reaching of the bioenergetic potentials or thresholds to then cause this contraction of the muscles. Normal muscle contractions followed by relaxation then prepares the muscle for another contraction. And this depends on proper levels of sodium, potassium, calcium that is vitally important for balancing and polarizing the plasma membranes and or nerve cell membranes. This is why proper mineral balance in the body is so essential for energetic activity and endurance. Allow me to diverge for a couple minutes to talk to you about mineral requirements. I recommend, as you've already heard, Love Minerals as an excellent source of high-energy minerals, and another product called Primo Life, the top-shelf multi-mineral, multivitamin, multi-enzyme product in Healthy World Store. And I start every day by rehydrating myself with a quart of pH-adjusted pure drinking water. I adjust my pH to approximately 8. That's a little bit more alkaline than your typical water supply that is about pH 7. At least 20% of the water you drink should be structured as opposed to unstructured by ideally 528 Hz frequency or 528 nanometers energy. Prayer also has the power to structure water. So praying over water and using the water resonators that we've created to impart this 528 love frequency into water is certainly recommended. Structured water dramatically increases the absorption of nutrients and micronutrients through the intestine. You can get up to about 600% increase in the absorption of vitamins and minerals and enzymes from health products that you take if you take them with structured water or right after you're well hydrated with structured water. People need to be careful taking pharmaceuticals with structured water. Increased absorption can lead to overdose of pharmaceuticals. That's not the case, and don't have to worry, in natural medicine. Rarely do we see any overdose effects from anything that we're prescribing. The structuring affects the sacred geometry and polarity of water molecules, making them carry nutrients better due to the lower, which is better, oxidative reductive potentials, or ORPs, of the structured drinking water. Like water that changes structure and the electrodynamics due to the frequency resonance, minerals and their orbiting electrons likewise vibrate and can be infused with love, or in this case, 528 Hz frequency. Calcium, as I mentioned, is a major constituent of bone, important for strong teeth and proper muscle and nerve functions. You can also get calcium safely in goat's milk and cheese, turnips and mustard greens, almonds and broccoli. Other important minerals in Love Minerals and good nutrition include sodium and chloride from sea salt, as I mentioned, not table salt. These are minerals that regulate body fluid volume, concentration, and acid balance. Do not, I repeat, do not get your sodium chloride from table salt. Sea salt provides additional minerals to maintain natural balance, as we too come from the sea, and our body fluids are much like that of ocean water. Chromium is another important mineral. It is involved in regulating blood sugar. Chromium works with insulin to help your body use glucose. Natural sources of chromium include brewer's yeast, whole grains, and meats. Copper is a mineral that is also important for nerve function, bone maintenance, growth, blood formation, and utilization of glucose. Natural sources of copper include organ meats, seafoods, nuts, and seeds. Fluoride, a highly contested, controversial element, is a mineral that is important to dental and bone health when it is natural. It improves resistance to cavities and osteoporosis at low levels, but can be toxic at high levels, especially when swallowed in fluoridated water and toothpaste. Fluoride should be derived from, as I mentioned, natural sources, not sodium fluoride in municipal water supplies, as the American Dental Association's propaganda holds. Next is iodine, a mineral essential for the production of thyroid hormones. Iodine sources naturally from seafoods, including seaweed and seaweed extracts. Also, sea salt that contains iodine is great for you. This is an especially important micronutrient in a world polluted by radiation. How stupid and sick it is to pollute our environment, and we the people, with radioactive cesium and more, simply because the energy industrialists prohibit safer and the safest energy technologies, Tesla technologies, from reaching the marketplace. Next is iron, a mineral that is an essential constituent of blood and muscle, and important for the transport of oxygen body-wide. Certain groups can be at risk for having low iron levels. These include young children and early teens, women with heavy menses, women with multiple pregnancies, and people with conditions that cause internal bleeding, such as ulcers or intestinal diseases. Iron deficiency is rare in healthy men and postmenopausal women. But if you have the uncommon genetic disease called hemochromatosis, then iron supplements could cause a hazardous iron buildup in your body. But this is not the case if you're taking Love Minerals or Primolife, because these supplements supply iron in normal nutritional amounts. Natural nutritional sources of iron include liver, red meat, egg yolk, legumes, whole and enriched grains, and dark green vegetables. Magnesium is a mineral found mainly inside muscles, soft tissues, and bones. It functions in many enzymatic processes. Sources of magnesium include nuts, legumes, whole grains, and green vegetables. These are rich in magnesium. Manganese is a mineral that is important for growth, reproduction, formation of bone, and carbohydrate metabolism. Natural manganese sources include whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and tea. Molybdenum is a mineral also in many enzyme processes, nerve functions, and protein metabolism. Sources include milk, beans, bread, and cereals. Phosphorus is an essential mineral for bone growth and maintenance, energy metabolism, nerve function, and acid balance. Sources of phosphorus include meat, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy products, and cereal products. Potassium is a mineral that is essential for nerve function, muscle contraction, and maintenance of normal blood pressure. This is naturally available from fruits and vegetables. Selenium is a mineral associated with antioxidant properties and fat metabolism. This has been shown to help prevent cancer and cardiovascular diseases. Seafoods and organ meats are sources for selenium. Sodium is an essential mineral that regulates blood fluid volume, nerve and muscle function, and acid-base balance. Again, good sources of sodium include Celtic sea salt, foods processed with sea salt, eggs, and seafoods. Zinc is a mineral involved in wound healing, taste sensation, growth and sexual maturation, and part of many enzymes regulating metabolism. Many studies also show daily multivitamin mineral supplements containing zinc may increase immune response to help prevent infections. But care must be taken to avoid overdosing with zinc that may weaken the immune system, especially of the elderly. Sources of zinc include meat, liver, eggs, and seafood. Now let's talk about muscle fueling with ATP. In order for a muscle to contract, it must have a ready fuel supply. This is best accomplished through the transfer of fuel from oxygen that is transported to the muscle through the bloodstream. And again, oxygen is the great carrier of the electron energy. Now, the primary fuel for all muscle contraction is adenosine triphosphate, or simply ATP1. There are three main ways that fuel is transported to the muscle, and they are derived through the use of a timing or intensity system. How hard or how quickly you ask the muscle to contract determines which fuel source is used. The three energy systems, phosphagen, glycolysis, and oxidative, are active all the time. Phosphagen is primarily used for 10 to 20 second requirements, glycolysis for up to a minute, and oxidative is the primary system for all long-term exercise. Krebs cycles are involved here most powerfully in creating energy for sustainability in muscle contraction and exercise. In aerobic organisms, the citric acid cycle is part of a metabolic pathway involved in the chemical conversion of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins into carbon dioxide and water to generate a form of usable energy. Other relevant reactions in the pathway include those in glycolysis and pyruvate oxidation before the citric acid cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation after it. Notice that all of these rely fundamentally on oxygen carrying or transferring of those powerful energy sources called electrons. The sole energy carrier